The 1960s weren't just about rock music, space races, and rebellion. They were about a new kind of war. Not fought on the battlefield, but on film. Hollywood was no longer showing clean-cut heroes waving flags. Instead, filmmakers began asking darker questions. What does war do to men? What if victory demands losing your soul? These weren't your grandfather's propaganda flicks. They were raw, violent, morally complex stories, shot on real battlefields, using real soldiers, and breaking every cinematic rule. This is the era when war movies became real, when honor, blood, and truth collided on screen. Welcome to World War II movies of the 1960s that changed war cinema forever. Let's start with number 19. 19. The Guns of Navarone, 1961. Before CGI, before modern action epics, there was The Guns of Navarone. Gregory Peck, David Niven, and Anthony Quinn lead an impossible mission, 6 Allied commandos sent to destroy 2 massive German guns guarding the Aegean Sea. Shot on dangerous Greek cliffs and stormy seas, the production itself felt like a military operation. Crews battled real storms, and Niven nearly died of pneumonia during filming. What made the Guns of Navarone revolutionary wasn't just its explosions, it was its scale and moral complexity. These weren't perfect heroes. They argued, doubted, even disobeyed orders, but they still got the job done. The film's score thundered through cinemas, and its tension, men versus nature, courage versus conscience, made audiences realize that war wasn't glorious, it was survival. The Guns of Navarone became a global hit, earning 7 Oscar nominations and redefining the men on a mission genre that would inspire dozens of later films, including The Dirty Dozen and Where Eagles Dare. 18. Operation Crossbow, 1965. What happens when science becomes deadlier than bullets? Operation Crossbow tells that story. Based on true events, it follows Allied agents racing to sabotage Nazi Germany's secret missile program, the same V-2 rockets that rained terror on London. Starring George Peppard and Sophia Loren, the film mixes espionage, technology, and sacrifice. It's a war film that feels more like a spy thriller, full of disguises, secret missions, and silent deaths. Director Michael Anderson shot much of it in real underground bunkers, and the sets were built using authentic German blueprints. That realism gives the movie a cold, claustrophobic feel, like the walls themselves are closing in. But what really makes Operation Crossbow powerful is its ending. The heroes succeed, but they die doing it. There's no cheering, no victory parade, just silence and smoke. It was one of the first WWII films to say, sometimes even winning costs everything. 17. The Great Escape, 1963. If one movie defines the spirit of courage and rebellion in WWII cinema, it's The Great Escape. Based on a true story, it tells how hundreds of Allied prisoners planned one of the most daring breakouts in history, right from under the Nazis' noses. With a legendary cast, Steve McQueen, Richard Attenborough, Charles Bronson, the film blends humor, humanity, and heartbreak. Every man has a job. Tunneling, forging documents, distracting guards. They're not just soldiers, they're craftsmen of freedom. McQueen's motorcycle escape became an instant classic, even though he did many of his own stunts. But behind the thrills lies tragedy. Of 76 men who escaped, 50 were executed by the Gestapo. The Great Escape isn't just a war movie, it's a celebration of human spirit, unity, and the cost of defiance. Even today, it remains one of the most beloved war films ever made. 16. The Longest Day, 1962. Before Saving Private Ryan, there was The Longest Day. This film recreated D-Day on a scale no one had ever seen before. Shot in black and white with a cast of over 40 international stars, including John Wayne, Richard Burton, and Sean Connery. It tells the story of June 6, 1944, from every angle. American, British, French, and even German. The movie feels like a military documentary come to life. Real paratroopers, real locations, and a script that uses multiple languages, showing that war doesn't belong to one side alone. Every scene was built from military reports and eyewitness accounts. The chaos of the beaches, the fear of the skies, and the moment when ordinary men became part of history. It's all here, in breathtaking realism. The Longest Day was nominated for 5 Oscars and set the standard for every modern D-Day movie that followed. Even today, few war films capture the scale, discipline, and courage of that longest, bloodiest day in history. 15. Von Ryan's Express, 1965. Now imagine this. An American colonel, captured by the Nazis, decides to hijack a train and drive it straight through enemy lines to freedom. That's Von Ryan's Express. Frank Sinatra stars as Colonel Joseph Ryan, a tough, defiant leader who doesn't always play by the rules. When British prisoners mistrust him, he earns their respect the hard way, through guts and sacrifice. The film mixes suspense, action, and unexpected emotion. Every whistle, every track, every approaching tunnel feels like a heartbeat. And the ending, one of the most powerful in 1960s cinema, reminds us that freedom always comes with a price. Sinatra's final scene on the tracks is unforgettable. It's not about victory, it's about courage, loyalty, and what it means to never stop fighting, even when you know you can't win. 14. The Train, 1964. Now we shift from soldiers to art. In The Train, the battle isn't for land, it's for culture itself. Set in Nazi-occupied France, the story follows resistance fighters trying to stop a German colonel from stealing priceless French paintings and shipping them to Germany. Burt Lancaster stars as Labiche, a man who doesn't care about art, until he sees people dying for it. What makes this movie stand out is its real stunts. No models, no effects. Every train crash, explosion, and derailment is real. Lancaster even did his own dangerous stunts, turning the film into a physical, gritty masterpiece. But beneath the smoke and metal lies a deeper message. Some things, beauty, history, humanity, are worth saving, even in the middle of war. The Train is a reminder that not all heroes carry guns. Some carry values. Lead 13. Battle of the Bulge, 1965. Hitler's last desperate gamble comes alive in Battle of the Bulge. Henry Fonda and Robert Shaw lead Allied forces through freezing forests as the Germans launch a surprise winter offensive. With tanks, artillery, and authentic European military equipment, the film delivers some of the most massive battlefield sequences of the 1960s. What sets this movie apart is its perspective. German soldiers aren't just villains, they're tacticians, thinkers, men following orders. This nuanced portrayal was controversial, even drawing public criticism from Dwight Eisenhower. Despite the debates, audiences flocked to theaters for thrilling action, and the tension of men fighting under impossible odds is palpable. Battle of the Bulge shows that war isn't black and white. It's strategy, fear, courage, and sometimes sheer luck. And 12. The Heroes of Telemark, 1965. Next, we move to Norway, where the stakes are scientific, deadly, and real. The Heroes of Telemark dramatizes the Allied mission to sabotage Nazi Germany's heavy water plant, a critical component in Hitler's nuclear ambitions. Kirk Douglas leads the team through treacherous mountains, sub-zero temperatures, and near-impossible ski chases, all filmed on location in the Norwegian wilderness. Douglas performed many of his own stunts, narrowly surviving crashes and frostbite. The production worked closely with the actual raid leader to preserve authenticity. The film isn't just thrilling, it's a tribute to courage, ingenuity, and determination. It reminds us that some heroes fight not for glory, but to prevent a catastrophe that could have changed the world. 11. The Sand Pebbles, 1966. Shifting from Europe to Asia, The Sand Pebbles explores war in a different dimension. Steve McQueen stars as Jake Holman, a U.S. sailor aboard a gunboat in 1926. China caught in the middle of political chaos and civil war, the film portrays American imperialism unflinchingly, a rare theme in 1960s Hollywood. McQueen's character struggles with morality, loyalty, and duty, highlighting that war isn't just about bullets and battles. It's about human lives caught in political storms. Filming in Taiwan and Hong Kong was brutal. Temperatures soared over 110 degrees, and McQueen clashed repeatedly with the director, channeling that tension into a performance that earned him his only Oscar nomination. The Sand Pebbles isn't about heroics, it's about facing impossible choices and surviving amid chaos. 10. Ice Station Zebra, 1968. Sub-zero suspense meets Cold War paranoia in Ice Station Zebra. Rock Hudson and Ernest Borgnine star aboard the USS Tigerfish, racing to recover a satellite before the Soviets do. Filmed with a full-scale submarine interior on set, complete with working periscopes and torpedo tubes, the movie feels claustrophobic and tense, every creak of metal and hiss of machinery adding to the suspense. Hudson delivers a dramatic performance, balancing command, suspicion, and the constant threat of betrayal. Underwater photography in near-freezing conditions makes every mission feel perilously real. Ice Station Zebras isn't just about technology, it's about trust, loyalty, and survival under pressure. Number 9. King Rat, 1965. Inside a Japanese prison camp, morality becomes currency. King Rat stars George Segal as Corporal King, a man who builds a black market empire to survive. The film exposes the brutal reality of desperation, showing how war can corrupt even the best intentions. Filmed on Hollywood soundstages designed to mimic claustrophobic camps, actors lost weight to show starvation's effects. One shocking scene, the murder of a rat, was filmed with a real dead rat. No live animals were harmed. Critics praised the film's psychological depth, highlighting the moral compromises forced upon POWs. Segal's performance remains a masterclass in portraying charm, cunning, and survival instincts simultaneously. 8. Zulu, 1964. Though set in the Victorian era, Zulu redefined war cinema. Michael Caine makes his breakout performance as a British officer defending Rorke's drift against 4,000 Zulu warriors. The film shocked audiences with its sympathetic portrayal of the Zulu fighters, their tactics, courage, and humanity, a first for 1960s cinema. Shot on location in South Africa with descendants of Zulu warriors, every battle sequence was choreographed with historical accuracy. The haunting sequence of the Zulu army singing while advancing remains one of the most iconic and chilling moments in war film history. Zulu isn't just a battle story. It's a meditation on bravery, respect, and the complexity of heroism. For 7. Hell in the Pacific, 1968. War stripped to its rawest form. Lee Marvin and Toshiro Mifune star as two enemy soldiers stranded on a deserted Pacific island. There's no dialogue, no grand armies, just survival and human instinct. Director John Borman turns isolation into tension, showing how cultural differences and ingrained hostility clash with the basic need to survive. Every raft, every cliff dive, every improvised weapon was performed by the actors themselves. The result is a minimalist masterpiece, intensely psychological and brutally realistic. The film forces viewers to ask, can enemies work together? And at what cost to pride, honor, and survival? Hell in the Pacific remains one of the 1960s most daring explorations of war's futility. 6. Battle of Britain, 1969. Sky-high heroism meets authentic aerial combat. Directed by Guy Hamilton, Battle of Britain depicts the desperate defense of England's skies against the Luftwaffe. The production assembled 109 real Dai-2 aircraft, temporarily forming the 35th largest air force in the world. Every dogfight, every bombing run was captured without CGI, resulting in breathtaking sequences still unmatched today. The story focuses on young pilots facing near certain death, their courage illuminated against smoke-filled skies. Even the actors had personal ties to real pilots, adding authenticity to their performances. Battle of Britain reminds us that heroism isn't just on the ground. It soars in the skies, fragile, fleeting, and brilliant. Where Eagles Dare, 1968. Action, deception, and mountains of tension. Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood infiltrate a mountaintop fortress to rescue an American general. Written by Alistair MacLean, the film is a masterclass in twists and suspense. Every character has hidden loyalties, and every mission is fraught with danger. Filming in the Austrian Alps brought extreme conditions, -20 schist, altitude sickness, and perilous cable car stunts. Burton and Eastwood perform many stunts themselves, creating an adrenaline-fueled realism that still grips audiences today. Where Eagles Dare set the standard for all men on a mission films, combining heart-stopping action with clever, suspenseful storytelling. 4. Lawrence of Arabia, 1962. David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia is more than a war movie. It's an epic exploration of heroism, identity, and the human psyche. Peter O'Toole stars as T.E. Lawrence, a British officer who leads Arab forces against the Ottoman Empire in World War I. He adopts local customs, fights guerrilla warfare, and becomes both revered and feared. Filmed across the deserts of Jordan, Morocco, and Spain, the production faced extreme heat, logistical nightmares, and vast, unforgiving landscapes. O'Toole's Lawrence is morally ambiguous, a man torn between cultures and haunted by war's violence. The film's iconic mirage sequence with Omar Sharif emerging from the desert haze became one of cinema's most unforgettable images, sweeping 7 Oscars including Best Picture, Lawrence of Arabia set the gold standard for epic storytelling and character complexity in war films. 3. The Great Escape, 1963. Steve McQueen's legendary motorcycle chase anchors this classic WWII prison break story. The Great Escape recounts the largest escape from a German POW camp, Stalag Luft III, with an ensemble cast including James Garner, Charles Bronson, and Richard Attenborough. The film balances humor, camaraderie, and tragedy. Every prisoner has a role: forging documents, digging tunnels, or distracting guards. McQueen's daring motorcycle stunt became iconic, while the film never shies away from the deadly consequences. 50 escapees were executed in real life. The Great Escape combines suspense, heroism, and realism, making it a timeless story of courage against impossible odds. 2. The Dirty Dozen, 1967. Lee Marvin leads a team of 12 military convicts on a near-suicidal mission behind enemy lines. These men, rapists, murderers, and criminals, are trained to assassinate Nazi officers before D-Day. Director Robert Aldrich refuses to sanitize the brutality. War is harsh, morally complex, and survival often outweighs honor. The film's training and chateau assault sequences are iconic, showcasing teamwork, strategy, and raw action. Released during Vietnam War protests, it challenged audiences to rethink what it means to be a hero. The Dirty Dozen became a cultural phenomenon, influencing countless action and war films with its mix of violence, moral ambiguity, and unforgettable characters. Number 1. The Dirty Dozen, 1967. At the very top of the 1960s war film sits The Dirty Dozen. Lee Marvin leads 12 military convicts on a near-suicide mission to assassinate Nazi officers before D-Day. These aren't your typical heroes. They're criminals, psychopaths, and misfits. Yet, under Marvin's command, they transform into a lethal force. Director Robert Aldrich refuses to sugarcoat war. The training sequences, planning, and climactic chateau assault are intense, realistic, and morally ambiguous. Released amid Vietnam War protests, the film questioned traditional ideas of heroism, forcing audiences to confront that survival and victory often require doing terrible things. The Dirty Dozen wasn't just a hit at the box office. It reshaped war cinema, showing that flawed men could be heroes, and that war isn't black and white. Why the 1960s changed war cinema forever. From The Dirty Dozen to Lawrence of Arabia, the 1960s proved that war movies could be more than battles. These films were complex. Heroes weren't always good. Villains weren't always evil. Brutal as war's cost was shown honestly, without glamorization. Morally ambiguous. Tough questions about duty, survival, and honor were at the forefront. The decade gave us epic scale, unforgettable stunts, and stories that explored the human psyche amidst chaos. Whether it was sky-high dogfights, desert campaigns, prison breaks, or covert sabotage, the 1960s taught filmmakers that war wasn't just about victory. It was about people, choices, and the true price of survival. So, which of these films shocked you the most? Do you think 1960s war films still beat today's CGI-heavy blockbusters? Or do modern audiences need clear heroes and villains to root for? Drop your thoughts below. The conversation is just beginning.